So what's the real story with AI? Are we just living through a massive, overhyped bubble that's about to burst? Or is a financial crash the absolute least of our problems? Today, we're jumping right into one of the biggest debates in tech right now. Is AI a money pit, or is it a genuine threat to humanity's existence?
Hey everyone, welcome. Before we dive in, just a quick heads up. What you're seeing is a special re-edit from our friends over at the Sip&Talk podcast. It's sponsored by Micky, and we've boiled it down to bring you all the essential highlights. So, let's get right to it. All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle the whole AI bubble argument. Then we'll flip the script and look at the much darker existential threat. After that, we'll connect the dots and see how these two things are fueling each other. And finally, we'll talk about the massive choices we all have to make.
You've probably seen this argument online, right? It perfectly sums up the two camps. On one side, you've got this insane gold rush with trillions of dollars flooding in. And on the other, you have some of the smartest people in the field warning that we might be building our own doom. So, is it just internet chatter, or is this really where we're at?
Okay, let's start with the money. The argument here is that what we're seeing is a classic speculative bubble. I mean, it feels a lot like the dot-com boom and bust, doesn't it? The hype is through the roof, but where's the actual profit?
The amount of money being thrown around is it's staggering. Morgan Stanley thinks that by 2028, big tech companies will have spent $3 trillion on AI. Let that sink in. That's a mind-boggling amount of cash just pouring into chips and servers.
And this isn't just coming from skeptical outsiders. That quote, that's from Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google's parent company. He's openly using the phrase irrational exuberance. The exact same term used to describe the dot-com bubble right before it popped. When the guys in charge are using language like that, you gotta wonder.
So here's the bubble argument in a nutshell. There's a huge disconnect. The investment is off the charts. But get this, a recent MIT study found that a whopping 95% of companies investing in AI aren't actually making any money from it. You've got crazy spending, almost no profit, and even the insiders are sounding the alarm. It's a textbook bubble.
But hold on, what if worrying about our wallets is a massive distraction? Let's pivot to the other side of this whole debate, the people who say our stock portfolios should be the last thing on our minds.
And this right here just lays out the stakes perfectly. If the bubble bursts, people lose money. It's bad, yeah, but society recovers. But in the other scenario, we could lose everything. I mean, the difference couldn't be more clear.
Now, this data from the Future of Life Institute is, it's pretty terrifying. They graded the biggest AI labs on how safe their systems are. And look at that, not a single one, zero, got an A or a B. The overwhelming majority were graded as having inadequate safeguards. And if that chart didn't get your attention, this will. This isn't some random guy on the internet. This is Geoffrey Hinton, one of the pioneers of this entire field, literally known as the godfather of AI. He's putting the odds of AI wiping us out at 10 to 20%. That's like playing Russian roulette with a 5-chamber revolver. It's not a risk you just shrug off.
So how do these two things, the bubble and the apocalypse, connect? Well, it turns out they're not happening in separate universes. In fact, you could argue the financial frenzy is actually pouring gasoline on the existential fire. They're dangerously tangled together.
This table really puts it all in perspective, side by side. On the one hand, a bubble popping means wasted money and a shaky market. On the other hand, the AI risk could mean automating 70% of all jobs. Socially, one means some unemployment, the other means, total chaos, hacking, and nobody knowing what's real anymore. The scale of the threats are just worlds apart.
And this right here shows the vicious cycle that has experts so worried. The bubble creates this insane market pressure. That pressure leads to a frantic race between companies to be number one. And in a race like that, what's the first thing to get cut? Safety. Every corner cut just increases the odds of something going catastrophically wrong.
So, where does that leave us? Honestly, it feels like we're caught between a rock and a very, very hard place. We're facing two huge connected threats, and figuring out what to do next it's a big deal. And this is really the ultimate question, isn't it? Do we try to slow things down, put some guardrails in place, even if it means stifling innovation that could cure diseases or fix climate change? Or do we just floor it, race ahead, and hope we get all the amazing benefits before the disaster hits? There's no easy answer here.
We've really only been able to scratch the surface of this massive topic.
If you want to hear the full, deep-dive discussion that this whole explainer came from, you should absolutely subscribe to the Sip&Talk podcast. And a huge thank you again to our sponsor, Micky. If you're into fun memes and awesome travel vlogs, you can find the link to their channel right down in the description. Seriously, go check it out. Thanks so much for watching.